Do a double shot every Thursday with our NFL insider, Adam Caplan. You can follow him on X at Caplan NFL. He's covered the league for almost 30 years. He's been with us since the jump. And we start today. And later in the second shot, we'll do Busted Cap in Your Ass. Everyone lives for that. But let's start with Thursday Night Intel as we head into Baltimore for the Bengals and Ravens rematch. The first game was crazy. 51-48, whatever it was.
Yeah, no question about it. In fact, I'm sure the Bengals would tell you they should have won that game. But look, the Bengals, they've got injury issues, okay? Their offensive line, Orlando Brown's hoping to play tonight. T. Higgins not expected to play with a quadriceps injury. They had the issue with Jermaine Burton last week, the third-round pick out of Alabama, who was what we call it deactivated. He was not allowed to play due to a violation of team rules. He can't have that. Yoshevich, the second-year receiver out of Princeton, started. They're going to get Jermaine Burton back tonight. They're going to need him. There's no question about it. When you look at the Bengals situation, this is a must-win. They know this. They cannot struggle. They got to bring it tonight. Their offense is still doing well. It's their defense. Scott, I cannot figure out what has happened to Lou Anarumo's defense. They don't have injury issues. There's no excuse. They just have not gotten together. They've been very passive against the Eagles, where they got off to a good start. Then they got passive against Jalen Hurts, and Hurts tore them apart. So they've got to play better defense. Now, for the Ravens, Isaiah Likely's not going to play with a hamstring injury. Scott, he's important for matchup purposes. One of the most athletic tight ends in the National Football League. I know he's a backup, but he is really good with matchups. Charlie Kohler's going to fill in for him, who's a really good tight end, by the way, out of Iowa State. So he's a third-year tight end, just like Likely. Deontay Johnson, who played in his first game last week, he only played 17 snaps last week. Expect him to play more tonight. And getting Deontay Johnson in there, the former Steeler and Panther, it gives them the ability, when they want to play more 11 personnel, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 back, which they have not really done a lot of. They're usually heavy 12 personnel and some 13 with 3 tight ends, but they'll be able to spread it out a little bit more. And Deontay Johnson, by the way, could run pretty well. That was an aggressive trade. There's no question about it. In a division, which is the most competitive in the National Football League.
I got to ask you, do you think that Joey Silk thinks that Mike Brown is cheap? Not with him, not with he still hasn't done a deal with Chase, but with the rest of that roster, that he's not putting him in a position to be as loaded as some of these other teams, that he doesn't spend the money.
Well, Scott, here's the thing. Higgins didn't get his contract extended, right? He's going to miss his 5th game of the season. You mentioned Jamar Chase's contract not getting extended. They were not aggressive at the trade deadline. They did add Khalil Herbert, a running back, because of the Zach Moss injury with the neck. So they needed to do something. But that was nothing. It had nothing to do with money. They gave up a 7th-round pick. But the bottom line is, as a matter of fact, the word around the league is that they more often don't re-sign some key players like Bates, the safety, and they rather get compensatory picks rather than pay players. That's just the way it is. The offensive line, by the way, has not been good enough. That's another problem with this football team. They have not invested and not drafted well enough in their offensive line. If you look at the best teams year in, year out, the Eagles, okay? The Eagles, the Ravens, and other teams that are high echelon, the Niners, they do a good job of drafting their own players, developing, and signing key free agents. The Bengals have not done that. They've never blocked well enough for Burrow. You know that.
So let's go to the trade deadline and some of the improvements that were made. Like, do you like the moves the Steelers made, getting the edge rusher and getting the big receiver in Williams?
Yeah, I've been telling you about Mike Williams to the Steelers for 3 weeks, and it finally happened. I was wondering if it was going to happen when they waited to the last minute, but it was not a Steelers issue. I'm told it was a Jets issue, and they got it done. They didn't have to give up much for him. He will start opposite George Pickens. They had to do something, Scott. We've been talking about this for several weeks. They love his size. He's healthy, I'm told. You're going to see him go get the football. The downfield passing game will be there. Freiermuth now, that'll help them out. He'll be more the intermediate pass target. I like that. And you know what? The Preston Smith one is very underrated. He's in the twilight of his career. The Packers were not going to bring him back next year. The Packers wanted to move him. They're going to go with Lucas Van Ness, who was the first rounder last year as a pass rusher. But this gives them great depth now at edge rush. They've got 4 guys now. Okay, they're going to have 4 guys for the playoff run who could all rush the passer. You know, T.J. Watt, one of the top 3 pass rushers in the National Football League. You know about his injury problems in the past. You got that issue. So, and then Nick Herbig, who's got that hamstring issue, who may not even play this week, and he's been out a while. So this is a smart move. give Omar Khan, the general manager, credit. Very aggressive. And look, Scott, they're better than the odds makers. We talked about this back in May when the odds makers only gave them for the future number 7.5 wins. Now, then it ended at 8.5. They're obviously going to be better than that. In fact, Scott, the over 9.5 wins is only minus 125. Now, I get it, as you said, and I agree with you that the schedule's harder. Folks, memo to you all. They're absolutely going to go for 9.5. That absolutely is happening. The under, by the way, is plus 105.
Listen, here's the thing I see in terms of Williams. This is the same conversation you and I have had 15 times with T. Higgins. The guy's 6'5". He goes up, climbs the ladder, comes down with the ball. There are very few corners that can match up with that type of body size and ability leaping for balls up in the air. And the guy that can throw that pass up in the air is Russell Wilson. He's great at throwing that high. He's always done it. He can throw that ball up there, and guys can go up and get that and bring that down. That's why they like Williams, because of his size and ability to climb the ladder and bring it down, somehow bring it down. Now they got two guys, a guy in Pickens that can make any kind of catch, and a guy that can go upstairs into the attic and make catches. And they got a big in Washington, and they got a big in Freiermuth. They got a running game now with a guy that's going 100 per week, every week because of the passing game. They got a pass rush. They got a secondary. What don't they have?
No, they're
Nothing.
loaded, man. I mean, honestly, they addressed the receiver position, which was by far their number one need. I know ESPN put out the story about Christian Kirk. That is true, that they were deep in negotiations before he broke his collarbone. But as I told you now for 3 weeks, they were doing all they could to get Mike Williams, because you just talked about the deep pass game. He also has got size. Very talented former first-round pick for the Chargers. And I thought the Preston Smith move was very underrated. And we'll talk in the second segment about the Steelers' injury issues, which were numerous before the bye. But talking to them, they think they're going to get 2 or 3 players back this week.
So what's the deal? The Commanders got Lattimore. What a steal. But they had to pay the price to get him.
They gave up 3 picks. No question about it. You're absolutely right. But they know there were 2 issues going into this trade deadline. They want to improve a corner. And what they'll wind up doing is when Lattimore's ready to go, we'll talk about him more in the second segment in his hamstring injury. When he's ready to go, they're going to probably move Mike Sainristil, who's their second-round pick out of Michigan, who was really drafted to be a nickel defender. He'd been playing on the outside. They'll move him to nickel. Lattimore will play outside. And as Dan Quinn said, he's absolutely right. This gives you the ability to play more man coverage. And everybody knows who follows the NFL closely, Lattimore versus Mike Evans for years, and their battles in man coverage. You're going to see this now. This helps them for yet another team that has been way better than people expected.
So you don't think he's playing against the Steelers? And I mean, that opens the door with Pickens and Williams and Freiermuth and that Steeler offense with what they've been doing, scoring 30 or more every week since they got Russ into that gig. I mean, that opens the door for Pittsburgh in this game, doesn't it?
It has to. We'll talk more about that game in a minute. But here's the thing with Lattimore. If you go back his injury history, it's been the same problem going back to Ohio State. Hamstring, okay? Before he was drafted in the first round of 2017. He phenomenal player. Top 5 corner when healthy. That's the issue with him, getting him healthy for the stretch run. They're a really good football team. They're playing way better than expected now. The thing they didn't get, and they really still need it, is a wide receiver. They didn't get that at the trade deadline. That's going to be an issue going forward.
We're going to still look at the key injury updates and lineup changes for a couple of games. Start with that game at the Dump and Landover. Steelers-Commanders, what a game in our nation's capital.
Who knew before the season started that the Commandos would actually be hosting an important game in Week 10, but they are. So let's get started with your Steelers. Now, as I alluded to from the first segment, and it's going to happen barring a setback tomorrow, they're going to get Zach Frazier back, their starting center. He, I'm told, graded out really highly before he suffered his ankle injury, well before the bye. And the other one, which is key, and let me explain this, Cordell Patterson, who's their kickoff returner, one of the best in NFL history. He also had an ankle injury. But he's actually a part of their running game. Super explosive, well into the 30s. That's what people don't understand. He gave something different to the running game, and he's going to be back this week again unless something happens in practice tomorrow. Now, I mentioned Nick Herbig
against the Chargers in that game I went to in Pittsburgh. He had about 6 or 7 carries for around 38, 40 yards, and they were big first down carries.
And Scott, he runs violently, man. He is so cool the way that he runs, and obviously a Pro Bowl kickoff returner. Now, Nick Herbig, who is their third edge rusher, he's been out for a while with a hamstring injury. He's still limited. he's got to practice more tomorrow to be able to get clear. But again, they made that trade for Preston Smith. This is why it was so smart for Omar Khan. Even with Nick Herbig still not 100%, they could turn to Preston Smith. This is big. So kudos to their front office. They've done a good job here. Now, let's get to the Commanders, who've been obviously one of the top 2 or 3 surprises of the National Football League. The big injury is Brad Robinson. I was told last week, leading up to the game, they thought he'd be able to play. What happened is in pregame warmups, his hamstring got tight. They didn't play him. Austin Eckler filled in and did a fine job. So he's still limited this week. He better do more tomorrow, who he's not going to play. As I mentioned earlier, they're not expecting Marshawn Lattimore to play with that hamstring problem. They got to get it right. There's no question about it. But you play the long game, by the way, with hamstring issues. You don't force it. You don't rush it. They know they're going to go to the playoffs. That's not the issue. The odds makers with the future numbers clearly believe that. It's about getting Marshawn Lattimore healthy and getting off the injury report with the hamstring. So that's where that's at. That's a great game, man. You're right. I cannot wait for this game.
Yeah, I'm just thrilled that they don't have to see Lattimore in this game on Sunday because that guy's lockdown, no doubt about it. And I really don't care about his hamstring. What a game Sunday night at NRG in H-Town as the Texans are going to be wearing their gorgeous red uniforms, their new unis, against the best team maybe in the NFL. Is it the Lions?
Yes, and I believe the Lions are better than Chiefs. I know the Chiefs are still undefeated. That's pretty incredible. But let me tell you something about the Lions. Yes, they don't have Aiden Hutchinson until deep into the playoffs of the Super Bowl if they get that far with a broken leg. But Josh Pascal has been filling in for him, who's done pretty well. Unfortunately, he missed the past 2 games due to an illness. He took all the reps today. He's going to play tomorrow. He's going to play this week, barring some unforeseen setback. And don't forget, Darius Smith. They acquired him this week, as everybody knows, from Cleveland. Now, they let him get his personal affairs together, so he's not with the football team. He's supposed to arrive tonight and practice tomorrow. Then they'll make a decision after practice if he'll play and how much he'll play. But that's a go-for-it move. Guy's 32 years old, can still play. This is a really smart move. Him and Pascal will fill in for Hutchinson. I like this. Now, the Lions, why are they so great? They win everywhere. They're at home. They're away. They're 4-0 at home, 4-0 on the road. But the Texans are 4-0 at home. But they've had some games where they squeak by. This is the big deal here. Will Anderson, their best pass rusher. He's got an ankle injury. He hasn't practiced yet. That's a problem. Derek Barnett, his backup, has been limited, but they think he'll be available. But obviously, if Will Anderson can't play, that's a problem. And as I was telling you during the break, the big issue for this football team is that receiver Nico Collins is not even been cleared to practice. He's not playing. He's still on IR. Stephon Diggs out for the season with the ACL. Their scoring is way down. The passing numbers are way down, and they're having problems moving the football. And that is why the Lions are a 3.5-point favorite, and they deserve to be.
All right, it's time for Busted Cap in your ass. We're going to haul ass and hit all these games. First of all, breakfast activities in Germany with a big stein of brew. Giants in Carolina. Giants laying 6.5.
Yeah, I like the Giants to cover this. This should be ticket brokers' day off. You would think in overseas, but it's not because they go crazy for football internationally. I like the Giants somehow to handle that in an awful game.
Bears laying 6 at Soldier Field against the Pats.
Yeah, I like the Bears to take care of business. I know they haven't looked good. They got to bounce back, and this is a good time to do it at home against the tough, competitive Patriots who can't score.
Buffalo's at Indy laying 4.
Upset special here. I like the Colts to win outright, and Flacco to bounce back.
Whoa.
I get it. He didn't play well against Brian Flores. Nobody plays well against the Flores defense. They bounce back, and they must win at home against the Bills.
All right, Minnesota at Jacksonville. The Vikings are laying 7. It looks like Mac Jones for the Jags.
Yeah, and Vikings will take care of business. Mac Jones, he couldn't play for New England. He can't play here. He's going to struggle, and nobody gets it done against Flores. Forget about it.
Denver at Arrowhead against Kansas City. Chiefs laying 8. They never lose.
I know, and the reality is the Chiefs are way better than the Broncos. The Broncos got a taste of reality last week. Chiefs will take care of business.
Saints getting 3.5 at home against the Falcons.
Falcons will take care of business. I know sometimes when you have interim head coach, they play better. It ain't going to happen. Falcons will take care of business.
Niners laying 6 at Raymond James against the Bucks.
Yeah, I you know what? I like the Niners to take care of business. Off the bye, McCaffrey trending towards playing. That means everything to them. Bucks are super competitive, but they got problems in their secondary. They're not going to get it done. The Niners will take care of business.
Washington laying 2.5 at the dump against the Steelers.
Like the Steelers, I love the trade. I love the energy. I love the Steelers this week to take care of business. I know I'm usually not on them, but I like them this week. Yeah.
You got me all fired up over here. Bust a cap in your ass. Tennessee at the Chargers at SoFi. Chargers laying 7.5.
Chargers will take care of business. The Titans can't move the football at all. They'll take care of business, and Chargers will cover this.
Jets are in the desert against Zona, and the Jets are laying 1.5.
Yeah, because everyone knows this is a must win, and they will take care of business and win it outright and cover that 1.5.
Wrong. Philly's at Dallas. Philly laying 7.
Cooper Rush at quarterback. The Cowboys are all sorts of beat up. Eagles will take care of business. Not only win for the first time since 2017, but they'll take care of the number.
Sunday night, Detroit laying 3.5 at Houston.
Love Detroit in this game. They will take care of business.
Look at your boy, Adam Caplan, ladies and gentlemen, getting it all in on Bust a Cap in your ass. Great stuff, Adam. Have a great weekend. Enjoy all the football.
You got it.